Hello and welcome to another Office Hours. You know what this is. You know exactly what this is. I'm going to keep doing this, though. Capsule. That's right. Capsule. Oh, this is a small segment of my Office Hours live stream that I do on Thursdays at 9 p.m. Eastern, 5 p.m. Pacific on twitch.tv/TheAstroPub and youtube.com/TheastroPubLive. This is chat. They will lie to you and say this is pre-recorded. Yes, technically it is because you're watching this pre-recorded afterwards, fact. But we look through Star Citizen lore, news, and more. And if you have been enjoying these videos, if you've been watching these in the past, as always, I remind you to like the video, subscribe for more content, and hit the bell icon to be notified when these release. For now, let's look at the ISC for the first-person assertion for this that came out on March the 7th, 2024.
At first glance, Star Citizen is a game about spaceships. But when you look under the surface, we're really building a universe of the first person, with trading and lading, exploration, and devastation. And over the next few weeks, we'll be exploring such character-related features as the new personal persistent hangars, new visor, lens, inventory, and shopping apps, the character customizer, which is so good I'm just gonna already tell you we're covering that next week, and much more. But before we leave our combat era of ISC, this week we're sitting down with members of Team Nuck. We really gotta get these new teams new names.
Team Kine and Team Nuck. I like it.
Discuss all the FPS combat related changes coming in Alpha 323. Let's find out more.
Iconic. This is iconic right here.
Go on then. Get the power shot. It's a bit awkward sitting down.
Hell yeah, brother.
Oh, wow, dude, you're so cool.
I know. My mom thinks I'm wicked, mate.
I love these animations.
This game is 930 years in the future. Why does reloading matter?
Reloading, I think, matters because from a player perspective, it makes you think ahead of the combat that you're about to go into.
Because it's part of a classic FPS experience. I think it adds to the...
Okay, hold up. I'm gonna back up a little bit. Sorry, I'm backing up. Let's look at this absolute champion with that beard. Look at that beard. Mwah, mwah. You, sir, have a glorious beard. I love this. Yes. Yes.
To the tactical element of gameplay, thinking on the fly, and it's also quite satisfying to reload weapons. I find it satisfying anyway.
You give a little bit of thought that the situation you're going to put yourself into, it feels a bit more immersive.
We obviously have a bit more of a complex system with our magazines. So we obviously have magazines on the suit, and we also have magazines in your backpack.
You need to make sure that these magazines are as full as possible. So we are making you think ahead about the combat situation that you're going to go into.
So for Alpha 323, reloading is kind of two parts. First, you've got your backpack reloading, and then you've got your ammo repooling.
So backpack reloading solves a problem where, for example, you find yourself in a situation in a combat, and you need to reload, but you don't have any spare mags on your suit, but you have in your backpack.
What you can do now is pull additional magazines from your backpack at the cost of an increased reload time.
It was just filling up a lot of your inventory, so we basically decided with backpack reloading that we wanted to kind of condense that gameplay and just do it more on the fly.
It is a reload, but it takes a little bit longer. It's going to play a very simple animation. So the combat flow isn't broken, but you still need to think ahead because this long reload duration can be painful in the combat if you're not careful.
Because we really want to incentivize players to think about when they're going into combat, what they need to think about, how much magazines they want to keep on them, and how much they want in their backpack.
The last thing.
This is all good, but I think chat's also pointing this out, which is one of the biggest kind of trends I've seen in FPS is staged reloading. And while the animations look great, CIG really needs to invest. And they seem to be almost hostile to this idea. So I'd love to see CIG actually respond to that is, if there is any CIG developers watching at this time, why are you so hostile to the idea of stage reloading? And for those of you who don't know, stage reloading is when you are reloading something and you need to stop. Like say you're reloading and someone's coming around the corner and you're like, oh, fuck. You stop the animation, reach down, grab your sidearm and fire, right? It's faster to switch your fire sidearm than to reload, that old trope. But then as you get back to it, you can continue to reload. Basically, you're able to cancel an animation, but you're also able to pick your animation back up where you last left off and continue doing that. Helldivers has it. What's the other one? Darktide has it. A couple other games have it. Right now, you can cancel animations, but you have to melee to cancel animations. And it's kind of janky and weird and those sorts of things. So you definitely need to have some sort of balance there, where you need to be able to cancel your reload animations so that you can switch to a sidearm into a different weapon. I'm okay with slow reload animations. You just need to have the ability to cancel them if you need be. So.
Thing you really want to do is pull out, open a UI and pull out magazines from here and move them across there. This allows you to keep in the combat, in the action, without having to go through inventory menus.
You will be able to see how many magazines on your suit and how full they are, and a backpack icon if you have magazines on your backpack. And if you see no magazines icon but a backpack icon, then you'll understand that the next reload you're going to do is going to be a backpack reload. So it keeps you in the flow, but it forces you to wait a little bit. The punishment of not preparing yourself is still there, but it's lighter, it's more forgiving.
So with repooling, the idea being that if you've got lots of, let's say, we take a 30 mag ballistic magazine. Let's say you've got 15, 15, 15, you've got 3 half-empty magazines. The idea being is you just hit a key binding, the animation will play like a rummage, and basically those magazines will condense down into full magazines and then automatically discard the empty ones.
As a result of this...
That's not too bad. So the way that's described is you have to actually press a button to do pooling. Maybe the speed would be the adjustment. I mean, that was really fast, but obviously this is a work in progress, and things you see specific on ISC in terms of like details, you never take them seriously. But I don't mind holding a button for pulling to keep you from getting absolutely domed. But there might be maybe some limitations for that. Maybe you can't do it in backpacks, but you can do it on stuff here. There's definitely things you can play around with that idea, but having a button to push and hold to pool is not too bad. Yeah, that definitely felt too fast in the video, but I don't think it's necessarily wrong as long as there's something you have to do. It's not just passive, because the idea of passive pooling sounds horrible. That sounds awful. But as anyone who's played any FPS games, especially when things get hectic, having to remember another button press adds a little bit of that. Like there's a lot of things you have to remember and you have to practice, and you have to. So there's some tactical thinking in that, but there definitely needs to be balance there.
This process, you will save your precious suit item ports, and then you will have your ammo condensed into your fuller magazine, so you're ready to unleash their full potential onto your enemies.
So with our new UI display HUD, we've basically got a number of the bullets in your magazine, and then we've also got a number of your combined bullets on your total player.
And duration of this operation is going to depend on how much ammo you're shifting around and the type of ammo that you're shifting around. So repolling pistol magazines is going to take a different amount of time than repolling rockets, for example.
And you can also balance it by saying you can't pool laser weapons. That'd be a great disadvantage for laser weapons. Or laser weapons, energy-based weapons. I see there's been a discussion about this, about like, what is energy weapons? And the answer is energy weapons is whatever the fuck CSU wants it to be, because it's a video game. But like, that would be a great kind of balancing mechanic. Like, hey, you can pull ballistics. You got energy weapons? Tough titty, you know?
That means that we're spending less time in the inventory screen and more time actually in gameplay.
This all will be in 3.23, but after that, we will be looking into throwables and consumables. So you will be able to repool your grenades and your med pens. And there are still a couple of unclear points about some weapons. For example, multi-tool and its salvage canisters. We're still exploring what options we have over there. So
oh, that's a good idea. Chat's saying double tap R for tac reload, just to put dump mag and whatever, lose ammo. Yeah, you could also have things like active reload systems where you have a rhythm you have to hit to try to do that. And if you screw up, you still reload, but you drop some ammo, so it may not be full. There's ways you can use the same system and kind of tweak it to make it a little bit more tactical, and also make it, because like, anytime you're forcing someone to think more about something else while they're getting shot at or getting pushed by like AR or friendlies or friends or enemies or whatever, like, that's good. Like that, I like that. That's a screw you. You didn't pay attention, and now you've tapped the puppy, and you're feeding the puppy, but you're not actually doing what you're supposed to do. So now you have a bunch of half full magazines instead of knowing your ammo management. There should be a consequence for just dumping half a magazine and then reloading. Like, there should be consequences for those actions, and there should be rewards for people who are better at managing their ammo. Consequences and rewards is the consequence, like the hallmark of Star Citizen gameplays. So
recoil is part of the identity of the weapon.
Oh, yeah. Okay. Look at this absolute Chad right here. That man fucks. That is the face of a man who fucks.
And it will also allow players to express their skill in a certain way. We have different kinds of recoil, very subtle recoils and very wild recoils. And depending on that, you can paint an image of either this is a very harsh, very, very aggressive assault rifle, or a very gentle pistol, maybe even with a silencer on top of it. When I've been watching CitizenCon and we showed the new recoils, one of the biggest feedbacks was, those are laser weapons. They don't have recoil.
Oh God! If I see one more forum post about like why do laser guns not? Well, why don't laser guns have recoil? It drives me up the wall.
Come here. Starts as a community. Come here. What game that has laser weapons doesn't have recoil? And I mean, I don't mean like beam lasers. I mean like the lasers we see. Like, which, find it for me, please. Put it in the comments. Find the obscure reference to some game that came out in 1993 that had no recoil for laser weapons, and tell me how that's what CIG should have done, a niche game from 2007 or whatever. Who the fuck are saying these things? What the fuck is, what is wrong with you? It's a video game with space fighters and bird aliens. Oh, okay.
Laser weapons in the first place, like we have them, are really unrealistic for themselves, right? There are no big laser projectiles that come out of weapons. So giving them recoil is very sensible for a game. I think getting rid of recoil in that sense is just boring gameplay.
It's fun. It needs to be in there. You know, you need a challenge when shooting people, you need a challenge when tracking people.
I think you need recoil in order to balance the game and make it fun for everybody.
You'll see in 3.22 we put the new procedural recoil in, and it looks mint, I think, personally. The weapons now use our entirely new procedural system, and the nice thing about the procedural system is it means that we can basically have shot-to-shot differences be massive. So you'll see when you fire the P4 now, it can basically be an entirely different bit of your screen than it was in the previous shot. Whereas before we had a very linear motion. Imagine before the recoil would essentially go like this on your camera. But now it can be, you know, kind of doing this all around the place. Far more aggressive, and the overall feeling of it is like, oh my God, this is actually a gun. So some of this is in 3.22, and some more is coming in 3.23.
Okay. Do blasters have recoil? I think they do. I think it depends on who you are. There's actually, this is like funny enough, this is actually a question about this. So one of the iconic weapons of the Warhammer 40K universe is the las rifle. You know, a las gun. You know, las pistols, las rifles, these sorts of weapons they're supposed to be laser based. The question is, do they have recoil? And here's the thing. Not even 40K authors agree if they have recoil or not. Different books describe different recoils. That some of them have recoil, some of them don't, depending on the video game. But like, they can't come up with their own things. Though I do think what CIG needs to do is they need to decide on what Star Citizen laser weapons are. Because if they're plasma, why is there plasma weapons and then laser weapons or energy weapons? Like, why? Why is this labeled plasma and why is this labeled energy? Is it just a marketing gimmick, which I could get, but there's like plasma weapons on ships versus energy weapons. So if Star Citizen's using plasma as the kind of space magic for space lasers, and then they also have plasma, what's the difference? So there just needs to be some sort of narrative cohesion for that, which they'll come up with at some point. I'm sure they'll find some obscure scientific paper or some shit like that, but you know. As long as it kind of fits in with the universe. As long as someone says, but why this? And your answer is, well, this is the answer in the universe. Then they go, okay. Like, a good example of that is Orison. Orison makes no sense scientifically. It wouldn't work. It wouldn't functionally be able to work the way that they said. But they have an explanation for it. Could it plausibly work? Like, no, but maybe, you know? There's at least some explanation for how it functions, and it makes sense in the universe. And it's like, okay. And why does it bother? It's the same thing. It's a gun. Yeah, but it's about, like, you're going to get people, and this is weird that it happens mostly in Star Citizen. You don't really see it outside of Star Citizen, but Star Citizen gets these really hypercritical people who say 900 years in the future, X should happen. Or this doesn't make any sense and this is wrong. It's a weird sort of hyperfixation that happens in Star Citizen community, and it happens often from people outside the community who come into the community as well. And you don't see it with any other game because Star Citizen has been, at least by the fans, been kind of promoted as a super realistic space sim when it has space fighters and bird aliens. So this is just a little bit of a tangent on this one, but I do think that sort of cohesion would help answer some of these questions.
So, for example, the sniper rifles, these are going to have, the majority of sniper rifles will have the new procedural recoil, and the majority of the pistols will have the new procedural recoil. So you'll see some of the pistols, their personality will have changed a little bit, but their functionality will still be the same. And you'll see the snipers basically feeling a lot more powerful and angry, as you've seen with the other weapons that have had their passes.
And with the new recoil system, this just feels like a real weapon, and it feels like this thing just has impact, right?
You know, you want your weapon to feel angry. If the weapon is just stable and still on the screen, you'd be like, oh, this feels pants. So we have not only just scopes, we have a whole new suite of iron sights for the majority of our weapons. So what this has done is we've essentially got stuff that has raised the camera upwards and given a better target acquisition window. This is obviously with a lot of sci-fi guns. They're very chonky, they're very kind of fat, which is just how a lot of sci-fi things are. So naturally, we've managed to improve upon this by saying, hey, you've still got that fat chonkiness, but we've raised the camera up and we've managed to make the sightline cleaner for your, for example, your Kana rifle. On the scope side of things, we've basically overhauled how they work. So previously, if you were looking at anything that is, you know, an 8 times or above, it would basically have a black border around the actual scope bit itself. But now that is gone.
The graphics guys did an amazing job at implementing the shaders for these, so the scopes just look way more realistic than they used to be. Nice reflections and a parallax effect. This is something different.
Just a gorgeous view. I can't wait for you guys to see them. It's probably the most exciting thing for me personally in 323.
So, this looks fine. This is what they showed off at CitizenCon. I've heard people say that this is not what they showed off at CitizenCon. So that's definitely something. I've heard some people get really mad about this. And I do wonder why. So.
If you look through the scope, you actually see the scope inside. And depending on if it's a holographic scope, a telescopic scope, or a TV screen scope, the shader will look different as well. And then we took it and brought it to basically every scope, adjusted the shader so that it looks nice on that particular scope, and added a few other functionalities to scopes as well. For example, we will have multiple zoom levels on scopes. Currently, we just have 8 times zoom, but in the future, for 323, we will be able to have 8 times and 16 times zoom, or 2 times and 4 times zoom.
And because our new recoil is a lot more aggressive and dynamic, it means that the reticle is moving as you'd expect on screen relative to where the actual barrel is. So not only does it help with the new procedural recoil, it also helps with the believability of the optics as well.
So I think the whole scope experience or ADS experience with scopes is just gonna get better from here on. Dynamic crosshair is also coming in Alpha 323.
Dynamic crosshair it's in the name, it's a crosshair. But the good thing about our crosshair is it's a little more futuristic, a little bit more sci-fi.
So in 323, when you equip a combat visor, you'll have a dynamic crosshair on your screen. This follows the barrel of the gun, which is really cool because if you're reloading and you pull the gun up like that, the crosshair will actually go off screen like that. So it fits into the aesthetic of Star Citizen because it's grounded in the context of where the barrel actually is, which is really cool because if you've got a pistol which shoots a bit more up like this, it actually follows it as you would expect. Previously, you were always kind of point shooting, and it causes a problem in not knowing how big your crosshair actually is for your weapon. So we had to make the spread on the weapons a bit smaller than usual because if you're going to point shoot, you have the issue of like, where is my bullet actually going to go? This allows us to say, hey, this is actually kind of what your cone of spread is, and we can increase the spread values of weapons themselves, which...
I don't like this. I don't like this. Because why? Who's this for? Oh, well, if you want to point shoot, get a laser pointer. Like laser sights or like laser dots are in the game right now. What is this for, though? I still don't know who this is for.
Which leads to better gameplay and people actually focusing on ADSing down sights, even in like 10-meter engagement ranges.
Whoa! Why? Why would I even bother using ADS if I can point shoot? Like why? Why would I ADS when I can just point shoot like that? Unless you're making the spread super wide.
And it also just gives that player a little bit of extra information. So when you're hiding behind a wall or you're close to proximity with an object, the crosshair is actually going to let you.
Laser pointer gives away your position. Yeah, but that's the point. It's you want to be able to point shoot, but you're going to give away your position. It's a balance thing. This one doesn't do anything. It just gives you instant shot.
Know if you're going to hit the object or if you're going to shoot past it.
I heard people saying this is unrealistic. I'm fairly certain we can do this with our technology today. So 900 years in the future shouldn't be a problem to have.
Okay, that's the worst argument. CIG, that is terrible. That is an awful argument. Don't be using that argument. If you want to make it a justification because this is for people who are bad at shooting, that's fine. Like, I understand the argument that it allows for people to point and shoot. I don't know how this is going to force people to ADS more when they can just hip fire easier. Why would you ADS when you have pointer like that? Like, that's an awful argument. Like, because don't make an argument about 900 years in the future when it's a gameplay purpose. It should service gameplay. All of this should be in the service of gameplay. What does it serve the gameplay? Saying, well, it's unrealistic. It doesn't fucking matter. You have space alien birds and space fighters. As I said earlier, this game was never going to be super realistic. It was supposed to feel authentic or whatever, but yeah.
At least military tech to have this crosshair component to them.
It's a crosshair that not only fits the aesthetic of Star Citizen, but cleanly fits into what you'd expect for Star Citizen as well.
We are able to deactivate it, so if you don't like it, there's a menu option for you. You can also disable the new hit markers independently of the crosshair, so if you just prefer...
But why would I? I get auto-aim. Why would I do that?
To keep the hit markers, you can keep them. If you prefer to keep the crosshair and not the hit markers, you can do that as well.
So you can fully utilize it to make it your own, what you want from the game. So you can have it completely off or on. And then we have things like, obviously, updated hit markers. And we also have a final hit red X as well to let you know that you've confirmed that kill.
It's a completely optional feature, but I think you're gonna like it.
So I think the reason why I'm so excited and the team is so excited about why these new changes to FPS are going to be so dynamic and completely change the game is I just think it makes our game so much more modern. It makes it so much more lively and really expressive. Now weapon manufacturers are going to have much more of a unique brand to them. And the same with our new amazing scopes. If you compare the scopes that we have now to what we have coming in 3.23, it is going to be completely, I think, game-changing.
We're obviously going to do things in the future, like when we get wear and tear in, apply wear and tear to when you shoot those things, because we still want that to be a believable experience. Bullet blocking is an issue. It will literally be gone from like grenades and magazines and everything like that, so even backpacks. So people previously would have to shoot people in the legs if they wanted to consistently land shots, which is a problem because realistically, that's not a good feeling of like, I'm behind you, I have to shoot you in the legs, so I can focus on shooting you in the chest now.
We really like the fact that the crosshair is basically kind of starting the whole archetypes for armors. So as we move down into the PU, we want our armor sets to become more specific to their unique. Move down into the PU, we want our
Okay, it said Tomby. I thought it said tomato.
armor sets to become more specific to their needs.
If you look at our game, half of this is basically FPS combat, and these improvements will bring the FPS combat to AAA standard and make it feel like a more polished experience. It's not something that you can put into words, but something that you will appreciate while playing our game. And I hope all of these changes make your time in the verse more fun.
I think this just is so much more about gameplay. It's less about getting bogged down in menus. It's more about on the action. And it also integrates so amazingly with our HUD.
A fluid experience, which is what we're aiming for, which is what we, really want to deliver. I'll see you in a bit.
Okay, I can understand that. So their argument is they want a fluid experience. They want the game to flow, which is cinematic. So if that's kind of their base standard. But yeah, let's take a look.
Oh, I have to get the microphone. Yeah.
So, what did we learn this week? We probably can't do this in a helmet. We learned that procedural recoil system reaches all FPS weapons in Alpha 3.23. That the dynamic crosshair will enable some occasional hipfire goodness. That new scopes means better ways to refund your enemies' lives. And that reloading changes means more of the pew-pew and less of the phew-phew. Sometimes I hate me too. For Inside Star Citizen, I'm Jared Huckabee. Thanks for letting us share the process of game development with you, and we'll see you all here next week. For the character customizer. Dun, 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 dun. Dun, 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 dun.
I love these. I love these. They're ridiculous. So, it makes sense. We're not going to see crosshairs for everything. It's only for military. And I get the idea that like armor is going to start having specializations. You'll have general armor, you'll have FPS armor, like military armor, you'll have repair and refuel, or you'll have different sets, different things that'll do different things, which I'm looking forward to. Things like medical armor, where you can like diagnose someone's illnesses or like injuries by just putting in your helmet and like scanning them. But yeah, like medic armor, yeah, or like salvage armor, or repair armor, like an engineer armor, where you can like immediately figure out what's broken and where. Those sorts of things are cool. So I get that with a dynamic crosshair. I still kind of am confused as to why it exists. I definitely need to see it in action, because right now it seems like, I think it's a little bit hyperbole to say it's auto aim. But the statement that it forces players to ADS more makes me go, so the only way that I can think about that statement makes sense is if there's going to be a wide variety of, like, if you're going to like shoot it and it's going to go everywhere, right? If like the spread is nuts, that's the only way I can see it. I don't know why people are mad about the ammo pooling. Most of this seems fine. The art recoil argument, I know they're going to be doing things like, a lot of people say with like laser weapons or energy weapons, they should have heating elements, and they probably will, but that's a resource system. That's the system that's going to be in for a bunch of other stuff. So, this is one of those, I understand where people are coming from, but at the same time, I think a lot of people are overreacting. It seems fine. It's a first version, and there's a lot of other things that are going to need to be addressed down the road that have nothing to do with like gunplay. So, anywho, thank you so much for watching. Thank you to chat for coming in and interacting in here. If you did, I want to hear your thoughts. Is Star Citizen now Fortnite? Or as my favorite comment of this was, we're getting the McDonald's chicken nuggets of FPS gameplay. Is that true? Is Star Citizen now Doom? It's a Doom clone from 1993 or whatever? Or is it, is it still in that Tarkov armor role? Is it somewhere in between? Let me know your thoughts down below. And I would like to thank HelloFresh for sponsoring the stream. They've been sponsoring us for the last couple of weeks. HelloFresh is a fantastic service where you can order, like they send you meals for you to prep. You can purchase them. You can actually get them for really, really cheap. They send you all the stuff you need, or most of the stuff you need. Usually you need things like olive oil or salt and pepper, stuff you'd probably pick up at a grocery store for like long term. But they send you most of the ingredients and that you need, and you can start cooking right away when it comes in. Pretty decent price, and they gave me a code where if you use my code to sign up for it, you can get 16 free meals. That's anywhere between $35 and $140 off when you use the code when you first sign up for HelloFresh. So, pretty good deal if you want to check it out. I'll leave the link into the description and in the top comment. And like I say every time, hope to see you someday in the black.